Hello friends, how are you doing? And I hope you really are having a great and fun time. So today we are going to discuss the NEET pattern exercise of the human reproduction. Right? So we'll move on to the first question and let us see what it says. The main function of the mammalian corpus luteum, yes. The main function of the mammalian corpus luteum is to produce estrogen only, progesterone, human chorionic gonadotropin and relaxin only. Now, in this one, see the first question, the first answer, we know that the corpus luteum. What happens when the ovarian follicle, becomes mature? What happens? It is acted upon by the luteinizing hormone, and what happens? This ovarian follicle releases both the estrogen and the progesterone more in quantities and estrogen as well. But what it is saying, estrogen only. So had it been only estrogen, it would have been right. But say, for example, had it mentioned only estrogen, progesterone, then also we would have, considered the option progesterone. But had it been that there would have been an option, like in which it would have been mentioned estrogen and progesterone both, then we would have gone for that option, right? So the ovarian follicle, right, gets transformed, the ovarian follicle gets transformed into the corpus luteum or corpus luteum, the ovarian follicle gets transformed into the corpus luteum, which is acted upon by the luteinizing hormone. Which is acted upon by the luteinizing hormone. Now this will cause the release of hormone progesterone mainly from this corpus luteum. Now this will cause the release of mainly progesterone now this will cause the release of mainly progesterone from the corpus luteum, from the corpus luteum, from the corpus luteum this progesterone which is released from the corpus luteum will maintain the endometrial lining of the uterus. Why? So as to prepare the uterus so that the fetus, the zygote can get implanted into the uterus, right? This progesterone will prepare the endometrial lining of the uterus, the endometrial lining of the uterus. So this progesterone will prepare the endometrial lining of the uterus so as to make sure, right, that it is in a state for the zygote to get implanted. Right? We all know that that the site of implantation is the uterus, the endometrial lining of the uterus. The site of fertilization is the ampulla of the fallopian tube. So, how does this get prepared? After the rupture of the ovarian follicle, the mature ovarian follicle has taken place. There is a Graafian follicle. What happens? That gets degenerate into corpus luteum under the effect of luteinizing hormone, and we will see there is a release of progesterone hormone. This progesterone is now maintaining the endometrial lining, okay, of the uterus, so that the zygote can get implanted in the endometrial lining of the uterus. Right? Also, apart from that, we will see that the corpus luteum also will secrete the estrogen hormone, okay. So, corpus luteum will also secrete the estrogen hormone, right. So, the main function of the mammalian corpus luteum is to produce the progesterone. That would be my main answer, right. Let us move on to the next question. Which one of the following statements is false in respect of viability of the mammalian sperm? Now, what do you mean by the viability? Okay, it is talking about the viability of the mammalian sperm. What we will see, that viability is a capacity of the sperm, right. Viability is a capacity of the sperm to fertilize an egg, right. Viability is the capacity of the sperm to fertilize the egg, right. That means till what duration or what time that sperm can fertilize the egg. So, we will see the sperm, okay, the sperm can fertilize the egg, or we can say in a way the sperm is viable for a period of 24 to 48 hours. The sperm is viable for a period of 24 to 48 hours. However, the ovum is viable. Okay, the ovum is viable for a period of 24 hours only, for a period of 24 hours only. Okay. So, the sperm is viable for a period of 24 to 48 hours, however, the ovum is viable for a period of 24 hours only. So, in the light of this little statement, we will see the options. Sperm is viable for only up to 24 hours. Yes, this is absolutely correct. We will see if something else is better. Viable sperm depends on the pH of the medium and is more active in the alkaline medium. The viability of the sperm is determined by its motility. Sperm must be concentrated in a thick suspension. The first option, that is the sperm is viable for only up to 24 hours, is the correct option, right. Now we move on to the next question. Signals for parturition originate from, right. Parturition means giving out or delivering birth to a baby, and it happens through the fetal ejection reflex, and that happens under the influence of which hormone? Yes, the oxytocin hormone, right. What will oxytocin do? The oxytocin will cause the contraction of the uterus, so that the baby can be produced out under the fetal ejection reflex. So parturition is the process of giving birth to a baby, of giving birth to a child. Right, and this happens under the influence of the fetal ejection reflex. This happens due to the fetal ejection reflex. Okay, so this is happening due to the fetal ejection reflex. What the parturition, and why does it happen? It is under the influence of the hormone oxytocin. This happens under the influence of hormone. Okay, this happens under the influence of hormone oxytocin. Under the influence of hormone oxytocin, which will cause the contraction of the uterus, and hence helps in giving birth to the baby, and helps in giving birth to the baby. So this happens under the influence of the hormone oxytocin, which will cause the contraction of uterus, and hence helps in giving birth to the baby. So signals for parturition, signals for parturition originate from oxytocin released from the maternal pituitary gland. Absolutely, this will be the correct option. Okay. Sorry. The parturition, it is under the influence of both the hormone. So this signals of parturition will originate from both the placenta as well as a fully developed fetus. It will, yes. The parturition, what happens, when the parturition has developed, then, due to that fetal ejection reflex, the oxytocin, gets, released, and which causes the contraction of the uterus. But what we will see, the signals of parturition will develop from both the placenta as well as the fully developed fetus. Okay. The Leydig cells, which are also called as the interstitial cells, right, which are found in between the connective tissue of the found in between the seminiferous tubules in the human body are the secretory source of what? Right. So, the Leydig cells, which are also called as the interstitial cells, also called as interstitial cells. Right, the Leydig cells also called as interstitial cells. Which are found, right, which are found in the connective tissue in between the seminiferous tubules are responsible for the male androgens, that is the testosterone, are responsible for the male androgens, that is the testosterone. Okay. So, the Leydig cells also called as interstitial cells, which are found in the connective tissue, in between the seminiferous tubules. In between the seminiferous tubules are responsible for the male androgens, okay, that is the testosterone. So, the Leydig cells are found in the human body are the secretory source of what? The androgens. Now, if for some reason the vasa efferentia in the human reproductive system get blocked, the gametes will not be transported. Okay? So, if for some reason the vasa efferentia in the human reproductive system get blocked, then what happens? The gametes will not be transported from the testis to the epididymis. We all know that the vasa efferentia are about 30 tubules which are found between the testis to the epididymis, and hence this is where this will connect from, right? The testes, the reed testis to the epididymis, and hence this will be the correct option. Moving on to the next question. The seminal plasma in human males is rich in. Now, this seminal plasma is contributed by a number of things, right from the vas, okay, right from the vas deferens we will see, it is contributed by all the factors, and it will be very much rich in what? The fructose and calcium. It will be, right, it will be rich in the fructose and calcium. So, the answer for this will be fructose and calcium, that is the seminal plasma in human males is rich in fructose and the calcium. Moving on to the next question, the Bartholin glands are situated, right. Now, these Bartholin glands, what are these, where are these present? The Bartholin glands are glands which are present on the inner side of the labia minora, the inner lips, okay, the thin lips of the vagina, and what we see, they are responsible for the secretion of mucus, okay, which for the secretion of mucus to make it to make it this thing during the copulation time, as well as during the birth of the child. So the Bartholin's gland, right, the Bartholin's gland are present in the vagina, on the inner side of the labia minora, on the inner side of labia minora, right? The Bartholin's gland are present in the vagina on the inner side of the labia minora. They are responsible for the secretion of mucus. These are responsible right. So these are responsible for the secretion of mucus. At the time of copulation and the parturition as well, right. So these are responsible for the secretion of mucus at the time of copulation and parturition as well. These are what the Bartholin's gland will do. So these Bartholin glands, let's see the options now in the light of this, that they are situated on either side of the vagina in humans, yes, right, in either side of the vas deferens in humans, on either side, on the side of the head of some amphibians at the reduced tail end of birds. So the first option will be 100% correct, that on either side of the vagina in humans. Let's see the next option now. The cleavage in mammalian egg. Now, what is cleavage? Cleavage is the division of the zygote. Okay, is a division of the zygote that can be equal, that can be unequal. Okay, so what it is? See, the first cleavage or the first division in the human zygote takes place 30 days after fertilization. So cleavage is the division. Cleavage is a division of the human egg. Cleavage is a division of the human egg, resulting in further growth, not exactly, we cannot write as a human egg. Okay, so cleavage is the division of the egg resulting in the growth, right, and cleavage can be it is unequal, and the first cleavage takes place 30 days after fertilization. So cleavage is the division of the egg resulting in growth. The first cleavage takes place 30 days after fertilization. Okay, the first cleavage takes place 30 days after fertilization. It is unequal and holoblastic, right? Cleavage in mammalian egg is unequal and holoblastic. So this would be the option. After ovulation, the Graafian follicle regresses to what? We have all done this. That after ovulation, what will happen? The Graafian follicle will be regressing to what? After ovulation, right? The Graafian follicle will regress to the corpus luteum. The Graafian follicle, right, will regress to corpus luteum, right? And we did again, the corpus luteum is also responsible. The corpus luteum is again also responsible for secreting many hormones, which maintains and further does so many functions, right? So after ovulation, the Graafian follicle will regress to the corpus luteum. Right. Then we move on to the next question. The acrosome reaction in sperm is triggered by. Right. So basically the acrosome reaction, did I mention the corpus luteum I mentioned. The acrosome reaction is basically what? It is a fertilizing, anti-fertilizing reaction. The acrosome reaction, right, is basically a fertilizing, right, a fertilizing anti-fertilizing reaction. So the acrosome reaction is basically a fertilizing, anti-fertilizing reaction, which will, what it will do? It will basically prevent polyembryony, not exactly polyembryony. It will, it will basically not prevent the different, ovum to fertilize with the sperm. This will further prevent. This will further prevent more than one ovum, right, more than, okay, so this will further prevent more than one ovum to fertilize with the sperm. Okay, this will further prevent more than one ovum to fertilize with the sperm, and so hence what we will see, that the acrosome reaction in sperm is triggered by the release of fertilizing. Is triggered by the release of fertilizing. The acrosome reaction in sperm is triggered by the release of fertilizin. So friends, with this we have come to the end of this session where we discussed about all the different questions from the human reproduction. I hope this was quite interactive. Any doubts, you can always get back to me. In the next session we will talk about questions from different chapter. The time we meet again, a very goodbye from this side. Thank you.